So we have been practicing how to draw um, things that are basically cylinders and boxes, right? And not all things are presented to us in a flat manner, right? Sometimes they're presented to us at angles, such as this, and then how to draw those things. So that's a lot of what we've been working on. So, as I said, if you learn how to draw those things, these sort of simple objects, then you can apply that to more complex things, which we're going to eventually get to in terms of with a figure drawing. First off, though, I'm going to show you a very strange, unconventional way to draw. And this kind of goes back to something like the blind contour drawing, because every drawing practice has its unique um, attributes in terms of why someone would draw that way. It's not necessarily intended to be a final finished product, but it does help you to understand the thing you're looking at. So looking at this figure or any figure, if this is coming from the drawing manual, this is towards the back of it. I've got all these pictures of people doing very active things. They're not just sitting or standing, they're moving. Okay. And what that does is it creates very unique, kind of strange kind of actions and angles and movements that are going through the figure. Such as this leg kind of goes back in that direction, and this leg kind of goes back in that direction. So that things are kind of like this arm right here is kind of angled out towards us. And so this upper arm is kind of angled back in space and then kind of comes down. So everything's kind of, the figure is leaning back this way and then the legs are coming out. So just all these kind of different angles and things going on with the figure. So it's a complex thing, right? The figure, right? Um, so really what we want to try to understand is this most basic shape in terms of how we can understand this kind of long, linear kind of shape and sort of the kind of boxish kind of torso, and then sort of the circular head, and then down to the cylinders of the legs, cylinders of the lower leg, and sort of a little foot shape, maybe a little hand shape, and so forth. So and the main thing about this is proportions. Okay, I'm just going to write that word right here. Most important word, okay? You may have seen drawings called caricatures. Caricatures, you have things that are disproportionate. The head will be huge, the body will be kind of small. They might make the nose bigger. They make things disproportionate. Might make some big hands. So proportions has to do with the size and relation of one thing to another. So this head has a size in relation to the rest of the body. Now the length of this arm and the length of this arm all relates to the rest of the body and where these things are at in relation to one another. So, it wouldn't make sense to have this leg here and have an arm only about this long. Imagine if this arms are only about that long. You had these tiny little arms, right? That'd be kind of weird, wouldn't it? Right? Or imagine his head being just ginormous. One of his head was like that big. Weird, right? So, we got to think, we want these things to relate in relation to one another. So with that, just like when you draw a portrait, someone's face, if you draw the nose, everything else now has to relate to that nose. Everything has to be pretty much determined by the size of that nose in terms of how big the eyes are going to be, where they're going to be at, how big the mouth is going to be, where it's going to be at, how big the rest of the head is. Once you draw that one thing, everything else has to follow along in terms of its size, okay, when you're looking at something. So in other words, if I draw this hand, the length of that arm, size of that torso, size of that head, everything now is being predetermined by the size and shape of that and where it's located. So what if I put the head over here? What if I had the head over here? What if I had the head over here? Well, according to this picture, the hand's right here, head's got to be right there. So everything falls in place. So when we look at this, where the hand is in relation to his chin, look at that. Falls right in line with that chin right there. So if I saw a student do a drawing of this, and the head was up here and the hand was down here, and I was like, your photo says this should line up with the chin, but your chin is up here, something's off. So, everything has to be in a relation in terms of where things are at, length, so like if I measure this arm, right, you may have seen artists, now I was talking about this in our last class, how artists take things and hold it out and measure things. So let's take the measurement of this arm. And let's find that measurement somewhere else in the body. So from his ankle to his waist right there, from the ankle to his waist, is the same from the tip of his hand to his shoulder. Okay, so basically from the top of his head right there to the top of his hand is the length of that arm. Okay. Interesting. So basically, well, not quite, but close. Okay, so look at that. From his elbow to his knee is the same length from his shoulder to his hand. Right? So once you can grasp those things, then you can start to make things the proper size in relation to one another. So basically his elbow to his hand is the same from his knee to the tip of his foot, maybe a little, yeah. Yep. Hand to his elbow there. What about the width of his shoulders? Is there any place else? That's his hand to the elbow, his knee to his hip. So, what about maybe from his hand to his hip over here? That's kind of a strange measurement. What about that? Knee to his shoulder. Hand to his shoulder. Right? So all that, kind of goes, that's a lot to grasp there in terms of trying to do all that. If I ask a student generally to draw something like this, what they would do is they'd start with a hand. Let me draw his finger. Let me draw his finger really good, his thumb. Let me see if I can draw his hand. And then they kind of draw going from here. And I used to draw this way. I kind of piecemeal, I kind of start here, finish that, go here, finish that, go here, finish that, work my way through here, finish that, moving up here, finish that. Then by the time I got done, something just looked off. It didn't look right. things just kind of were out of place, like shifted and not the right place. Maybe they were drawn really good, like the arm would be drawn real good, like the head would be drawn real good. When we looked at them in relation to one another, they just didn't quite fit. Okay? So my point is, figure is very complicated. Okay? There's a lot of things in different places and locations. So a gesture drawing is a way to start to understand a thing really quickly, really fast. Otherwise, if you start to draw and analyze, it would take a long time. Okay? So this just gets you to just scan it fast. Try to make it as accurate as you can in terms of where things are, and your eyes just kind of moving throughout, and just kind of, and that's all you're doing. You're not drawing contours, not drawing any of these folds, not drawing facial features. You're just taking a line and kind of moving through the body. Okay, so let me show you some examples of what this looks like. Okay, so here's a gesture drawing. Okay, right now you might be able to tell this is a hockey player. Okay, he's got a stick, he's got skates. Let me find other examples. A snowboarder, got someone dancing. Got a bunch of examples here. Same drawing except in marker. That one again, I believe. Okay, these are gesture drawings. Now, some of them, what you might see, some more than others, is you might see sort of this sort of circular motion. And that's okay. But that tends to be kind of slow. Okay. You want kind of a mixture. You can see these lines just kind of flowing throughout. But you also don't want these kind of like just sort of straight lines either. Okay, so I don't really particularly like that one so much as a gesture drawing. This one's sort of doing it too, but this one generally is I think of as a gesture drawing. Okay, sort of like your lines kind of interject, just sort of like bouncing across those contours of ping, 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 ping. So imagine somebody just like a ricochet that just kind of, just kind of hits off of things. You're not focused on contours. You might suggest a contour, but you're not really trying to draw those contours. And sometimes you might kind of do some kind of circular things to kind of suggest a kind of ball or some kind of cylinder, right? So, in other words, so you might have some things that sort of represent this, but you don't want to do just that. And so what you're doing is kind of something maybe sort of like that, and sort of a cross between those. So every once in a while, you're kind of maybe back and forth and then back and forth this way. So you're running across and through and hitting the sides, bouncing back in, and then coming back down. So that could represent someone's leg almost, right? So what I want you to do, okay, is go through this packet of pictures. I want you to draw at least 6 of these in gesture drawing, okay? And I'm going to demonstrate, okay? So again, basically what I'm doing is kind of moving through and hitting and bouncing and ricocheting and kind of moving across and through and down and through and kind of hitting, and then, trying to, not finishing any one part, trying to move through the entire image real quick. And what I'll have, hopefully when I'm done, is kind of the placement of the head, placement of the arm, placement of that arm, length of the arm, relation to this leg. And those are the things I'm looking at, okay, as I do this, okay? So let me demonstrate. And the reason I have you do 6 is it's kind of a warm-up. You really, after doing several of these, especially since it'll be the first time doing it. It's going to take several to do it where you can get pretty good at it. We'll try to keep it relatively about the same size. The head is a good place to start. Okay, so I feel pretty good about that. Right now I'm noticing this foot should be out a little bit further past the hand. I got the hand about out further than the foot, so I might have went out a little too far on the hand. Maybe a little too far on the shoulder right there. So you can kind of edit things a little bit if you want to, and I feel like maybe the head would need to be over a little bit more. So I'm just kind of, I'm not allowing my pencil to sit still. If I sit still, then I might just start, I'm going to draw this, and then I'm going to draw this, and I'm going to come down and draw this. And, I'm not focused on contours. I'm just sort of bouncing across, finding where that shoulder is, Where's this shoulder? Where's that hip? Where's this knee? Where's that ankle? Where's that foot? And just moving throughout. So it looks very sketchy, okay? It's meant to be. Believe it or not, a lot of comic book artists, those really nice comic book artists, like Spider-Man, all that stuff, DC and Marvel, they start out this way a lot of times, okay? And then it's not until later that they start really building it up. So this is a very traditional way of drawing, believe it or not. Maybe not the way you learned or what you picked up. This is just something that, artists do to learn how to draw figures, okay? So, all right, so let me do a couple more. Now, see, my tendency, I see a lot of students is when they do this, they'll just start making these circles, doing this. And that's not necessarily doing the same thing. So I would try to avoid just doing that. I'm kind of, running through back and forth, maybe doing some of that sometimes. It kind of suggests, kind of a cross contour kind of idea, like, something's rounded there, but I'm not just making this kind of rings like that, okay? So you want to avoid that, okay? Don't want to do that, okay? So you don't want to focus on contour either like that. Don't want to do that, okay? All right, so let's move on to some others. Actually, I got two figures here I could do. So you could use just flip the paper, do on the other side. So this one's pretty complex. So I'll try to do one and maybe I can do the other one. So what's really weird about this picture is I don't think that's his foot. It looks really weird. I think that's somebody else's leg back there. And I think his leg goes back behind him to where you just can't see it. It's so foreshortened. So it looks funny. It looks really funny. But so there you go. I've kind of taken these two very complex looking things and look at the hand. I mean, all I did was that, for a hand. I didn't do anything to try to draw fingers. Didn't try to draw fingers. Here's a blip, just kind of something that kind of gives you an implication of what is there without getting all wrapped up in terms of actually drawing it. So in that way, I feel pretty good. Like I understand these things. I mean, I've basically completed 2 figure drawings within a matter of minutes. So from here, and what's amazing about this, and what is so amazing about this, is that from here, I could do a finished drawing on top of this. There's no reason I couldn't just lightly erase this and then start to really draw these things and know they're going to be in the right place, they're going to be in the right shape, they're going to be the right proportion, and everything's going to fit in place. But had I started drawing, as I said, I just started drawing the hand and the arm and the head, draw everything really nice and finished and polished, but by the time I got everything else, it would be so out of whack. So everything's kind of resolved proportion-wise and placement at the get-go, right? So, all right. So what I want you to do is go through this. And I want you to pick 6 pictures, okay? Now with this one, you don't have to draw these other figures. You get to focus on the one. And I want you to draw 6 of these. Okay, and gesture drawing. pretty amazing. I made this packet about 10 years ago or more, and to see Kobe Bryant is pretty wild. Just amazing. What I thought Kobe wouldn't be around at this point. Kind of. So anyway, unfortunate. So all right. So I've got a lot of different people active and doing very different things. So they're moving. Okay, there's a lot of movement here. If I'd had you draw someone who's just standing there still, that wouldn't be anything to draw. I mean, basically you'd just be drawing someone, you know, if you just got someone standing there, I mean, what's to draw there, okay? I mean, what? You know, boring, okay? Not doing anything, just standing there, cookie cutter, right? So we're not going to look for figures doing anything like that. And what I mean by look for figures. Now, so what you're going to do is you're going to do 6 gesture drawings. From the packet I gave you, okay? 6 of them. Then I want you to come up with a list of, let's say, a minimum of 4 things you like to do. So these are activities. Okay? Activities mean you're active. Not sitting on the computer, not sitting watching TV. Not that I'm saying you'll do that stuff, but things that you will do as you're doing things. Now, maybe it's not things that you enjoy the things to do. Maybe sometimes it's things you have to do. Maybe you have to rake the leaves. Maybe you have to clean the house. Maybe you have to take the trash out. You know, so it'd be nice if it was things that you enjoy to do. But if you can't think of 4 things that you enjoy to do where you're actively doing something, then, you know. Anyway, so as long as you're not just standing there still or sitting still, okay? All right. So it has to be kind of activities, okay? So like maybe cooking, maybe walking the pet, maybe going shopping, maybe. Okay, so let me just name a few things I like to do. Okay, I like to fix things. I like to paint. I like to fish. I used to like to play soccer. I don't think I should put that now necessarily. Oh, I like to cut wood. But sports, you know, I'm not really of the age of sports anymore myself, but you are. Maybe you enjoy sport. Could be even cheerleading. Who knows? Could be you're in band. You know, band is a very pretty active thing sometimes. So, or play an instrument. So, which I don't do. So those are 4 things that I would use. Okay. So I want you to come up with a list of 4 things. Then I want you to find a picture. Okay. Find a picture and make a gesture drawing of it. Okay. So here I found a picture of someone doing something I like to do. It's just fix things, using a drill, power drill. This might be something that I would be doing, right? So I like the picture. So I like, the pose, I like how the angle of the legs, I like the arm, I just like the activity and the pose that this one person is in. So it's really important once you to find a picture, think of the pose, okay? Real important, okay? Try not to find anything simple, again, that would be horribly simple and just plain and dull. This is not that, okay? So I want you to find something of a picture of someone doing an activity, and I want you to make a gesture drawing of it. Now I have a gesture drawing of this around here somewhere. I don't have it to show you at the moment. But, so I want you to do that. And then I will later show you what we're going to do with it, okay? So make a gesture drawing of your picture. Now, I would also like to see your picture, okay? I want you to somehow see if you can turn in the picture that you found, okay? So we'll give this one a test run, but you might end up with another picture we're trying to find a picture for your final assignment, okay? Let's just get right to it. I could use this potentially for my final assignment, but you might, after doing this, figure, well, I think I could find a better picture, and so forth. We're going to use for your final assignment. Okay, I don't want to say too much about the final assignment at this point. Okay, but we've still got more of our drawing as far as the figure goes. We still got some more things to do with the figure, but the gesture drawing is a beginning point. Okay, so 6 gesture drawings, list of 4 things you like to do, activities. These are the things I like to do. Find a picture of a pose and do a gesture drawing based on the list of 4 things you did. Okay? And that's it.